Good afternoon, students.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, now the
Good afternoon, sir.
voice is clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay, screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So viscosity is nothing but it is the resistance. So the viscosity is the property of the real fluid by virtue of which it offers resistance to the shear force. So the fluid will be flowing in different layers. So whenever fluid will be flowing, there are different layers of fluid. So those layers, each and every layer will oppose or resist to the adjacent layer. So that movement, that resistance to the movement is nothing but it is the viscosity. So we can, if we touch these all different liquids, water, oil or honey, we feel that viscous effect, we feel that viscosity, right? So that viscosity is nothing but it is the resistance offer for the shear stress or shear force. So that is the viscosity part. And in viscosity, we have one important law that is known as Newton's law of viscosity. So it is given by Sir Isaac Newton. Therefore, the name is derived from the scientist Isaac Newton, Newton's law of viscosity. So what that Newton's law says that, so suppose here we consider that two plates, bottom and top plate, and the bottom plate is fixed. And the top plate we have applied some force F, right? So when this particular plate will be pulled, and in between these two particular plates, there is some viscous fluid, right? And a distance between these two plates is y, suppose, right? The plate is pulled, so therefore the velocity is u. Whenever we will be increasing that force, certainly the velocity will also increase, and this particular will be the surface or the what we say the area, right? So area in contact or contact area between the fluid and the plate. So certainly if you increase the force, the velocity of the fluid will increase and the area, contact area will also increase. So therefore we can say that this force is directly proportional with area, contact area, and proportional with velocity. And there is inverse proportion with this distance y. So therefore from this relation, we can find that force upon A proportional with U upon Y, and therefore F upon A is shear force upon area will give you shear stress tau. Therefore tau is equal to proportional with U upon Y, and therefore when you particularly remove this proportionality sign, we have to add the constant, and here the constant is called as constant of proportionality or called as dynamic viscosity. This is mu. So it is called as a dynamic viscosity. Therefore, the Newton's law equation, Newton's law of viscosity equation is this: shear stress is equal to mu u upon y, or shear stress is equal to du upon dy when we take the derivative part, that is du upon dy, right? So this mu is called as constant or dynamic viscosity, or it is also known as absolute viscosity, and its unit will be Newton second per meter square. Getting? And this du upon dy, this ratio du upon dy is called as the rate of deformation, or it is velocity gradient. Why? It is u upon y. So therefore it is also called as velocity gradient. And now its unit will be per second. Velocity unit is meter per second divided by meter. So only per second is remaining. So therefore du upon dy unit is per second, and this is tau is nothing but it is the shear stress measured in Newton per meter square. So now remember this equation, Newton's law of viscosity equation. To solve numericals, we have to use this equation. Shear stress tau is equal to mu du upon dy or u upon y. Then we have types of viscosity. Just now we have discussed dynamic viscosity. It is defined as shear stress required per unit rate of deformation. So from the previous equation, Newton's law of equation, so we can get the equation for this viscosity, dynamic viscosity. So dynamic viscosity is mu is equal to shear stress upon du upon dy. Then there are some older units, that is CGS unit. So for dynamic viscosity, the older unit was poise. So 1 poise is nothing but it is 1/10 Newton second per meter square, or 10 poise is 1 Newton second per meter square, right? And centipoise, 1 centipoise is 0.001 Newton second per meter square. So sometimes this unit also there in numericals. So sometimes the dynamic viscosity will be given in poise. So remember this conversion, 1 poise is 1/10 Newton second per meter square, right? So next, kinematic viscosity, second viscosity. So this kinematic viscosity is ratio of dynamic viscosity to the mass density. So it is the ratio, and therefore the unit of kinematic viscosity is SI unit is centimeter square per second or meter square per second. So it has a older unit in Stokes. So 1 Stoke is 1 centimeter square per second, that is 10 raised to minus 4 meter square per second. Then the variation. So how the viscosity varies with temperature. So if you increase the temperature for liquid, the molecules get separated, and when those molecules get separated, certainly the resistance between those particles, those molecules get reduced. This resistance is nothing but it is viscosity. So therefore you can find here when the temperature is increased, right? So x-axis it is temperature, y-axis it is viscosity. So when you increase the temperature, in case of liquid, the viscosity will fall. Just like we have application in our automobile engines, engine oil. So that engine oil, when after a particular duration, after a running of 2000 kilometers, we replace that engine oil. So why? Because of the moving parts in the engine, that temperature will increase, and because of that temperature, the viscosity will decrease of that oil. So therefore, that viscosity will fall, and therefore we have to replace that oil, engine oil. So this is the perfect example to study the temperature and viscosity effect. We have one experiment to perform on this viscosity variation with temperature. And the second is gases. Now, opposite case in case of gases. So when the temperature will increase, the molecules will get closer to each other in case of gases because of the temperature. Therefore, the viscosity and the resistance will increase. So the curve will be rising. In case of liquid, the curve is falling. In case of gases, the curve is rising. Then the compressibility. So we can compress gas easily, but we cannot compress liquid. So this is the effect of compressibility or the property. So gases are highly compressible. We can compress the gas easily because of pressure, tremendous pressure, but we cannot compress the liquid. So gases are highly compressible as compared to the liquid part. Then cohesion and adhesion. So simple, the molecular attraction between same particles is cohesion, and molecular attraction between different particle is adhesion. So this property is essential in case of surface tension. So surface tension is nothing but over the surface of any fluid, any liquid. Now this is a interface, this is a surface between air and liquid. Suppose this is water. So air and water. So here the molecules of water, those are having cohesion. whereas these surface molecules which are in contact with air and which are in water also, so those will have the tendency of a pull or tension. So surface molecules are always in a tension. Therefore, a thin layer exists of a tensile force over that surface. So that tensile force is nothing but it is called as a surface tension. This surface tension is denoted as sigma, and its unit is Newton per meter. Why Newton per meter? As it is a tensile force, so Newton, and it is on the surface, so it is per meter length, right? So therefore, the unit will be Newton per meter. Now the surface tension for water is 0.0728 Newton per meter at a 20 degrees Celsius standard temperature. So as the temperature increase, certainly the molecules get separated and the surface tension also decrease with the increase in the temperature. This is the surface tension. Then the applications, raindrops, then the insects can walk on the water surface because of the tensile film present on the surface. A needle can float, then formation of bubbles, etc. So these are some of the applications. Then the small derivation part we have seen. So pressure inside a liquid droplet is 4 sigma upon D or 2 sigma upon R. So this droplet is solid part. Then soap bubble, it is a hollow part, so therefore the pressure will be double. So 8 sigma upon D is equal to 4 sigma upon R. And if it is a jet of liquid, it is sigma upon R or 2 sigma upon D. Then now we will come to our today's topic, that capillarity. So capillarity is nothing but it is the particular, whenever we dip a thin glass tube in a pool of water or in a pool of liquid. So when it is a water case, or suppose first example we take for water. So when we dip a thin glass tube, so the water will rise. So why the water will rise? It is because of the adhesion property. Adhesion means it is the attraction between different molecules. So here the different molecules means the glass molecules and the water molecules. So the glass molecule, the water molecule will stick to the glass surface, and therefore they have a adhesion. So adhesion is more as compared to the cohesion, and therefore the liquid will wet the glass surface, and therefore the level will rise in that glass tube. So this level is denoted as H, and this H is nothing but it is called as capillary height or capillary head. We know that height or head will be measured in centimeter or in meters. So therefore the unit for capillarity will be centimeter, meter or mm also. Now what will be in case of mercury? So there is a fall. Why fall? Because here the cohesion is more. Cohesion means the attraction between similar molecules. So the mercury molecules have more attraction, therefore they will not stick to the glass surface. Therefore there is a fall. This fall is capillary head, H. So here a fall is seen in case of mercury and rise is seen in case of water. So both the cases it is called as a capillarity. Why? As per the definition, it is the rise or fall of liquid in the capillary tube. So this capillarity effect is because of one second. Yes, it is because of the cohesion and adhesion property. In case of water, the adhesion is predominant, adhesion property is more, and in case of mercury, the cohesion property is predominant. Now, if you enlarge this point where it is the level of liquid in that capillary tube. So here in left hand side, it is shown that in case of water, so here we see a concave shape meniscus. Now the level inside the tube, capillary tube, is called as meniscus. It is called as meniscus of liquid. So in case of water, we see a concave meniscus, right? And in case of mercury, where there is a fall, so here it is a convex meniscus. So this is again the difference between water and mercury capillarity, that in case of water we get a concave meniscus, and in case of mercury, convex meniscus. Now this theta is nothing but it is the angle of contact of glass and the molecules of the liquid, molecules of the fluid. So this theta value is nothing but it is the angle of contact. Now in case of this water, so this angle of contact is less than 90, and in case of this mercury it is greater than 90. So theta value for water, it is nearly equal to 0. So for pure water, if it is a pure water, the theta value will be 0, and in case of mercury, this angle of contact theta will be around 130 degree. It is near to 130 degree, right? So this is again the difference between the angle of contact. Now we have to derive this height, this capillary head, and what are the various, what we say, the parameters or various phenomena. The capillarity phenomena will depends upon which factors, right? So we'll be deriving the equation for capillarity. Now just you have to draw this sketch, so that there is a pool of liquid, right? We have inserted one glass tube whose height is h. There is a rise in case of water, angle theta, d is the diameter of glass tube, and the surface tension, as we know that surface tension exists on the circumference. So here it is a circular glass tube, so therefore circumference of circular glass tube will be pi d, and surface tension is sigma. So therefore the surface tension force will be sigma into pi d. Now this is inclined at angle theta, right? So we have to find the equation for this h, right? Now h is the height of capillary rise, d is the diameter of capillary tube, m is the density, so rho is the density of the given fluid, and g is acceleration due to the gravity part, right? Now capillarity is nothing but it is the tendency of the liquid either to rise or fall because of the surface tension. So therefore you have to equate the total weight of liquid that is in this region. Whatever there is a rise of height h, we have to find out what is the total weight of liquid in this rise portion, in this h portion. So we have to equate this with the opposite direction force. So the weight will be acting vertically downward, and opposite to this is the surface tension that will be pulling it upward. So whenever there are two forces, we have to equate these two forces. So downward force is the weight in this region, in this capillary tube of height h, and opposite to this is the surface tension force. Now here the surface tension is inclined, so therefore we have to resolve it in vertical component. We require vertical component of that surface tension. So the vertical component of surface tension is sigma pi d into cos theta. So this vertical component we are equating with the weight of liquid in this part. Now how much is the weight? Weight is nothing but pi by 4 d square is area. This circular area is pi by 4 d square. Now it is multiplied by h and multiply by the density, weight density. Rho into g is weight density. So density multiplied by h multiplied by area is the total weight in this entire region, in this of height h. So weight is equal to surface tension. So by this equation you get h is equal to 4 sigma cos theta divided by rho g d. So write down this equation as the capillarity equation, 4 sigma cos theta upon rho g d. Now what is h? H is this rise, right? So rise is measured in meters. For this equation, this h is measured in meter. Sigma, as we know that sigma is surface tension, and unit is Newton per meter. Theta is the angle of contact. Rho, density of given fluid. G, acceleration due to gravity, and D is the diameter of glass tube, right? So from this we can say that this H varies inversely with diameter, right? So this diameter is nothing but the capillarity is particularly seen in less diameter glass tube. So since H varies inversely with D, from above equation, it is significantly seen that the capillary rise or depression can be observed in the tubes of smaller diameter only. So the capillarity can be seen in case of smaller diameter, right? So this is the capillarity equation or the action. And the last, particularly the property, is vapor pressure. So vapor is nothing but whenever the fluid are heated, so those molecules are converted into vapor molecules, right? And this is under pressure. So the temperature at which the vapor pressure at the surface of the liquid become equal to the pressure exerted by the surrounding. So here the vapor pressure is nothing but it is the pressure exerted by the vapor. So this is a simple definition of vapor pressure. So the vapors will exert the pressure, and because of the temperature effect, so it has the tendency to, particularly vapor pressure is the measure of tendency of material to change its state, gaseous to vapor state. Then now the important aspect here is again the further classification of fluid. Previously we have classified fluid as real fluid and ideal fluid, right? So if you, yes, this is, so classification of fluid, firstly we have classified a fluid as ideal fluid, and second is real fluid. Ideal means it is a imaginary. So to solve civil engineering complex problem, we have to assume that the fluid is ideal, it has zero viscosity, no viscosity is present, and it is an incompressible fluid. But no fluid in the nature is ideal, so it is a imaginary basically. So all the fluids are real fluids in nature, so it has viscosity. So therefore whenever viscosity is present, certainly because of this viscosity there is further classification based on that viscosity part. So the classification of fluid is based on Newton's law of viscosity. So what is Newton's law of viscosity? Just now we have seen that it is shear stress is equal to mu du upon dy. Shear stress tau, mu is dynamic viscosity, du upon dy is called as rate of deformation. So using this expression, using this Newton's law of viscosity, so further the fluid is divided as Newtonian fluid and non-Newtonian fluid. Now what is Newtonian fluid? So this is named after Sir Isaac Newton. The name is suggested after the Isaac Newton, that is Newtonian fluid. Now what is Newtonian fluid? Simple, the fluid that will obey this equation, that will obey the Newton's law of viscosity, is simply a Newtonian fluid. Now what is this Newton's law of viscosity? So the shear stress tau and the rate of deformation, so these two variables, shear stress tau and du upon dy, is plotted on a graph, and that graph is studied. So if this, in this particular case, if the graph or the relationship of shear stress and du upon dy is constant, that is mu is constant, so then we say that it is a Newtonian fluid. That means it is a straight line, it is a linear relationship, constant mu. So we get mu value constant in that case. So now what are examples of Newtonian fluid? So every standard fluid, water, air, benzene, ethyl alcohol, so these all fluids are nothing but those are Newtonian fluids. Now why it is a Newtonian fluid? Because it is a having simple molecular formula, it has low molecular weight. So therefore these simple fluids, air, water, benzene, ethyl alcohol, etc., these all are Newtonian fluid which will obey the Newton's law of viscosity. So here the shear stress and du upon dy, it has a linear relationship, constant mu, we get a constant mu. Therefore, it is said as a Newtonian fluid. Now, opposite to this is non-Newtonian fluid, which does not obey the Newton's law of viscosity. Now, in this non-Newtonian fluid, as here we see the classification, it first is independent to time, and second is dependent to time. Now again, in non-Newtonian fluid, there are further 5 types. 3 types in time independent and 2 types in time dependent. So it is dependent or independent to the time. So non-Newtonian fluid. Basically in non-Newtonian fluid, so we see a non-linear relationship of shear stress and du upon dy. Therefore, those are called as non-Newtonian fluid. So there is not a linear relationship. So there somewhere there is a non-linear relationship. It may be related with time or not related with the time. Now we will see one by one what are the non-Newtonian fluids. So first is called as Daltons. Now you can note down what are these non-Newtonian fluids. So time independent, first type is Daltons. In case of Dalton, the viscosity of fluid will increase when you increase the shear stress. So the curve is rising, but it is not straight. It is just a curve. It is a non-linear. So therefore, the viscosity of fluid increases when the shear stress is applied. Also, it is called as shear thickening fluid. Also, the another name for this Daltons is shear thickening fluids. Now, what are the example? So we have quicksand in our geotechnical engineering. We will study what is quicksand. Starch, when you put starch in water, so that becomes a thick fluid, thickening fluid. So that is a starch in water. Then we have cooking corn flour application. So these all are thickening fluids. So therefore, their viscosity will increase when the shear stress is increased, but it is non-linear. Remember. So Dalton is the first non-Newtonian fluid. Then second is called as pseudoplastic. P is silent. So it is called as pseudoplastic. Now, if you apply the shear stress, so here the viscosity is decreasing. So the curve is dropping slightly, but non-linear again. So then this is opposite to Dalton's. As in case of Dalton, the shear stress will increase the viscosity, but in case of pseudoplastic, shear stress will decrease the viscosity. So now what are the examples in this? So grease, then detergent slurry, then we have tomato ketchup, right? So you all know the ketchup. So this ketchup, grease, detergent slurry, these are the examples of the pseudoplastic, right? So more shear stress applied, so less viscous will be the fluid. So it is also called as shear thinning. The previous was thick, shear thickening, and here it is shear thinning. Then the third is Bingham, Bingham. So it is Bingham. So fluids that have a linear shear strain relationship require a finite yield stress before flow. So here, simple to understand, for example, toothpaste. So toothpaste always will be in the tube. So if you open the cap of the tube, and if you vertically get that mouth downward, so the toothpaste will not come from that tube. Why? So unless and otherwise you will apply some stress that is called as yield stress. So that pressing, that yield stress will get the fluid to flow. Then the toothpaste will come out from that tube. So here that is Bingham. So simple example is toothpaste, drilling mud, or chocolate also. So the yield stress is required. Some initial stress is required to press to continue that flow. So that is the toothpaste example, perfect example to Bingham. So again, I